Staring at a glowing white screen at 1 a.m., refreshing your Stripe dashboard for a $47 sale, means your business is infected. We call this the poverty sickness, and your pricing strategy is actively repelling the exact clients who have the liquidity to make you rich. There is a toxic myth circulating in the creator economy that reducing friction through a $97 price tag will automatically trigger volume and effortlessly scale your monthly recurring revenue while you sleep. The math proves otherwise. Selling low-ticket information products doesn't lower the barrier to entry for ambitious action takers. It opens the floodgates to the most friction-heavy, entitled, and resource-draining demographic on the internet. This approach destroys your authority. It drains your bandwidth and physically caps your business at a level of barely profitable mediocrity. Elite buyers operate from abundance and seek leverage. Low-ticket buyers operate from absolute financial scarcity. The person who hesitates over a $100 investment is the exact same buyer who demands a one-on-one consultation in your free Slack channel and refuses to watch the onboarding video. By pricing your intellectual property for the masses, you are directly absorbing your buyer's financial anxiety into your own operational infrastructure. To understand why volume-based B2B education is an unwinnable game, we have to look at the brutal unit economics of the standard $149 flagship product. Look at this ledger. Amateurs see a $149 price tag and think they are winning, but they immediately lose $100 to the cost of acquiring that customer through social media ads. They assume they have a $49 margin. They forget merchant fees, software overhead, and the massive, unquantifiable human energy required to support a bottom-tier customer. The true profit is zero. Attempting to outrun the algorithmic slot machines of Facebook and TikTok forces you into a volume war against networks designed to suffocate your margins. And while you fight for pennies, high-level operators are evaluating your brand. If you pitch a B2B lead generation system for $99, a seven-figure founder assumes your product is patched together from outdated YouTube videos. These operators filter by price to gauge your competence. If your price tag doesn't make them slightly uncomfortable, they instantly dismiss you as an amateur. Lowering your barrier to entry does not scale your business. It actively suffocates it by repelling the exact people who possess the liquidity to scale your operations. If you run a paid digital community, your survival is dictated by a single metric, the churn rate. When retention drops below 80%, the amateur architect panics. They rush to cram more unpaid labor into the offering, scheduling additional weekly live Q&A calls that absolutely nobody attends. Solving this requires a counterintuitive mechanism known as the churn-rate paradox, where doubling the subscription price creates the friction necessary to filter for high-commitment members. This diagram shows a standard $29 community. Members treat it like a forgotten subscription, never logging in until they disconnect. Look what happens when we raise it to $199. Low-intent users vanish, remaining members form high-density connections, and total revenue doubles. Spending $199 every 30 days psychologically forces the buyer to log in, extract value, and network intelligently simply to justify the expense to themselves. If you want to see the complete, step-by-step standard operating procedure to restructure your community pricing, grab the full operational SOP linked in the description below. Financial pain is a required structural mechanism. The community polices itself because the high barrier to entry physically bars the lowest common denominator from entering the gates. Once you stop selling to the bottom of the barrel, you have to execute the value decoupling protocol to permanently restructure how you articulate your worth to high-net-worth clients. We must destroy the module myth. This is the false assumption that your customers are buying information and that you need 40 hours of high-definition video to justify a premium price. Elite operators do not view massive curriculum volume as a bonus. When you bullet point dozens of modules, you're warning them of a grueling, unpaid part-time job and their already suffocated schedule. You must permanently shift your vocabulary. Stop using consumption metrics like watching, reading, and learning. Start using implementation metrics like installing, executing, and acquiring. Your buyer does not want 60 videos. They are exclusively purchasing the extreme compression of time and the complete elimination of operational risk. By refusing to list your deliverables like a grocery receipt, You successfully neutralize the prospect's ability to divide your intellectual property into an hourly wage and negotiate your price down based on cheap market averages. The delivery mechanism is irrelevant. The only metric that dictates a high-ticket price tag is the asymmetric ROI formula. This equation shows a broken onboarding process bleeding $108,000 in lost revenue over 12 months. Anchoring a $5,000 price against a $54,000 recaptured loss makes the investment feel mathematically inevitable. You trade $5,000 once to secure $50,000 in cash flow. Now that you have a price, you must manipulate how it is perceived. Buyers are biologically incapable of evaluating value in a vacuum. To trigger a purchase, you deploy the center stage effect. Look at this pricing grid. The $2,000 core offer sits in the middle. The $500 baseline is the ugly sibling, surgically stripped of operational safety nets. The $10,000 enterprise phantom is a massive financial anchor, making the middle tier a mathematical bargain. Pricing matrices function as psychological traps designed to hijack the buyer's internal calculus and mathematically force the premium checkout. Even with perfect architecture, hope is a terrible conversion mechanism. Aspirational selling fails because humans will always spend 10 times more money to stop acute pain than they will to acquire future pleasure. You must force the prospect to stare at the rotting ledger of their own operational failures. Transition your entire sales argument away from what they gain by saying yes and focus strictly on what they violently lose by saying no. This is the blood loss equation. You calculate their cost of inaction by mathematically quantifying their broken sales pipeline down to the exact daily dollar penalty they suffer for delaying. Frame the high-ticket price tag as an incompetence tax, a mandatory redirection of the capital they are already burning on broken systems, failed contractors, and dead-end software. Finally, to defend this premium positioning, your landing page must physically radiate the energy of an exclusive, dismissive authority. We call this the velvet rope copywriting framework. The amateur writes sales copy that begs. The elite operator replaces every desperate call to action with an aggressive disqualification matrix, telling the buyer they likely lack the infrastructure to even qualify for the room. When you accurately quantify their daily financial carnage and simultaneously threaten to restrict that access to the cure, their ego overrides their logic. You completely neutralize their price sensitivity. But a premium price requires a structural safety net. The standard 30-day no questions asked guarantee is operational robbery. It legally contracts your business to subsidize the internet's most lazy, predatory consumers. The elite alternative is the asymmetric guarantee, or conditional refund. You never guarantee emotional satisfaction. You guarantee strict operational mechanics. This contract shatters the illusion of an easy refund. You demand agonizing, undeniable proof of work. To trigger the safety net, buyers must submit exported CRM logs, verified call recordings, and proof of automated sequences firing. If they don't execute, they don't get paid. With the transaction secured, you exploit the buyer's most vulnerable millisecond, the exact moment dopamine spikes at checkout. Enter the continuity Trojan horse. You disguise a $99 a month software or community subscription as a pre-checked opt-out order bump placed directly above the payment button. You do not ask them to join, you force them to actively decline. Because the first 30 days are free, they leave the box checked. Once the baseline utility of your recurring engine is proven in that first month, the high-ticket buyer will never cancel the rebill. The price tag is an illusion driven entirely by context. By defining your value strictly on financial outcomes and engineering ruthless environmental friction, you cure the poverty sickness and permanently secure the premium.